Welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8, and this is part 4 of Let's Read Chaos Daemons, supplemental book for Warhammer 40k. In this chapter, we'll read of Nergal, the father of plagues. Nergal is the great corrupter, the master of plague and pestilence, the fountain and architect of rot itself. He is the embodiment of the truth that all things, no matter how solid and permanent they seem, are subject to decay. And even the process of creation is merely the beginning stage of destruction. The bastion of today is tomorrow's ruin. The maiden of the morning is the crone of the night. And the hope of a moment is but the foundation of regret. Though he is the creator of every infection and epidemic to have ever afflicted the universe, Nergal is not a morose purveyor of death and suffering, but a vibrant god of life and laughter. To understand the contradictory nature of the Lord of Decay, one must first comprehend the eternal truths that represent and the mortal emotions that birthed him. Life springs forth from rot. Untold numbers of bacteria, viruses, insects, and other carrion feeders thrive on the decay of the living. In the wake of every plague rise new generations, pox scarred perhaps, but also stronger than those that came before. Regeneration comes from decay, just as hope is born of despair. The greatest inspiration coming in the darkest moments. In times of crisis, mortals are truly tested and driven to excel. The citizens of the Imperium know full well that their lives will all one day end, and that many of their number will live with disease and other torments in the meantime. Yet they drive this knowledge deep into the corners of their minds and bury it with ceaseless activity. Nergal is partially embodied by that knowledge and the unconscious response to it. He is the hidden fear of disease and decay, the gnawing fact of mortality, and the power of the defiance that it generates. Nergal himself takes the form of a titanic flesh hulk, riddled with decay and pestilence. His gigantic carcass is bloated with corruption and exudes an overpowering stench that gnaws at the mind. His skin is greenish, leathery, and necrotic. Its surface abundant with running sores, swelling boils, and rampant infestation. Nergal's gurgling and pulsating organs are rank with the excrement of decay, spilling and spurting through his ruptured skin to hang like obscene fruit around his girth. From these organs burst swarms of tiny nerglings that chew on his rotting intestines and slurp up Nergal's bountiful, noxious juices. Every single human being in the galaxy has been touched by Nergal's foeted hand at some point. Countless trillions are host to his malignant, invisible creations, which corrupt their physical forms and sow despair in their minds. Interplanetary traffic ensures that contagious disease are carried from world to world by the ignorant and the willful alike. As Nergal's gifts multiply into full-blown pandemics, his power reaches a peak. Whole systems, even whole sectors, are quarantined as plague runs rife across the stars. Proud civilizations wither away even as the god of decay conjures obscene new life from the remains. Wherever there are plague pits and mass graves, the rotting splendor of Nergal shines through. I'm thirsty. Some good 7-Up. Despite his consistent generosity, only enlightened few truly embrace Nergal's greatness. Yet his worshippers exist in numbers enough to ensure his daemon servants access to the material dimension Wherever plagues abound, of all the Chaos Gods, it is Nergal who most appreciates the personal touch, and he watches over his followers like a doting patriarch, leading many to refer to him as the Grandfather Nurgle. The Garden of Nurgle, the domain of Nurgle, is not a barren wasteland, but a macabre paradise, a near-infinite jungle of death and pestilence, tended by the Lord of Decay. This unwholesome realm is home to every pox and affliction imaginable, twisted, rotten boughs, entangled with grasping vines, cover the moldering ground entwining like broken fingers. Fungi, both plain and spectacular, break through the squelching mulch of the forest floor, puffing out clouds of choking spores. The stems of half-demonic plants wave of their own accord, unstirred by the stagnant, insect-choked air. Their colors puncture the gloom. Havens of cheeriness in a dismal woodland, human-featured beetles flit along the banks of the sluggish, muddy rivers. Reeds rattle, whispering the names of the poxes inflicted upon the world's mortals by great Nurgle, or lamenting those that have died from the caress of their creator. Jutting from amidst the primordial mire is the Nurgle's manse, decrepit and ancient, yet eternally strong at its foundation. The mansion is an eclectic structure of sagging, rotted timbers and broken walls, overgrown with crawling poison ivy and thick mosses. Cracked windows and crumbling stone compete with verdigris-coated bronze, rusted ironwork, and lichen-covered cornices to outdo each other with their corrupted charm. Within these crumbling walls, Nergal toils. Beneath mildewed and bowed beams, the great corruptor carries out his eternal work. At a rusted cauldron, a receptacle vast enough to contain all the oceans of all the worlds. Chuckling and murmuring to himself, Nergal labors to create contagion and pestilence, the most sublime and unfettered forms of life. With every stir of Nergal's maggot-ridden handle, a dozen fresh diseases flourish and are scattered across the stars. From time to time, Nergal reaches down with a clawed hand to scoop a portion of the ghastly mixture into his cavernous mouth, tasting the fruits of his labor. With each passing day, he comes closer to brewing his perfect disease, a spiritual plague that will spread across the extent of the universe, and will see all living things gathered onto his rotting embrace, dwarfed by their grotesque and enormous lord. A host of plague-bearers and gathered about Nergal. Each daemon chants sonorously, keeping count of the diseases created, the mischievous Nurglings that have hatched, and the souls claimed by the Lord Decay's putrid blessings. This hum drowns out the crackling of the rotten floor and the scrape of the ladle on the cauldron, so unceasingly in its monotony that to hear it is to invite madness. When Nergal's diseases wax strong in the mortal realm, his garden blooms with death's heads and fresh filth. Its boundaries encroach upon the lands of the other Chaos Gods. War follows as Nurgle adversaries fight back, and his Daemon Legions take up arms to defend the morbid forest. From such wars springs more of the richness of life and death, of triumph over adversity. Though Nurgle's realm and his lead in the great game will eventually recede again, his garden will have fed deeply on the fallen, and will lie in gestate peace until it is ready to swell throughout time and space once more. Uninvited guests. Very few mortal eyes have beheld the Garden of Nergal. Its swamplands constantly wheeze a fog of supernatural diseases, and living beings cannot endure so much as a single breath of its repugnant air. Only Nergal himself can spare visitors from his garden's toxic infections. When he is expecting company, he will open a path through the gurgling fungus fawns with a single magnanimous gesture. Trespassers are viewed poorly in Nurgle's domain, as the seers of Lugganoth found to their cost. The Eldari of that far-flung craft world have long told the story of the caged maiden. Wait. Caged maiden? Why does that remind me of Kyo from Danganronpa B3 Killing Harmony? Wherein Isha, the goddess of fertility and healing, is imprisoned in Nergal's mansion. There she is forced to imbibe Nergal's most pleasing concoctions, as her grotesque admirer observes the results with building excitement, and Isha's restorative powers ensure the process can be eternally repeated. The Eldari believe their myths to be founded in truth, and so it was that when Lugganoth was ravaged by the brittle coma, a council of its most gifted psychers cast their minds in the domain of Nergal in pursuit of Isha, hoping to find their lost goddess and put a halt to the craftworld's deadly malaise. They knew that they would almost certainly die in the attempt, but believed that their souls would ultimately be drawn back into the glittering spirit stones of their comatose bodies. Once safe in the crystal afterlife, they can impart Isha's cure to the spirit seers and lift Nurgle's curse. At first, they astrally projected their forms, appeared to be able to pass through the grasping foliage of Nurgle's garden with ease. Their ghost helms kept them as insubstantial as spirits, and their rune-shielded minds cut through the dismal vegetation, for they were sharper than any corporeal blade. The rot flies of the realm buzzed loud in alarm. However, the whispered of the intruders into Nurgle's ears, just as the seers of Lugganoth sighted Grandfather Nergal's manse. In the distance, a great host of plague bearers rose up from the mud and began to chant in a droning monotone as they came forward. The seers channeled their sunken energy into great blasts of cleansing blue fire, boiling away huge chunks of Nergal's army and darting out of the clumsy reach of their foes. But ever more plague bearers emerged from the slurry to block their path. The battle raged for days, and swaths of Nergal's garden were blasted to ruins in the process. However, in the material dimension, their physical forms, the trespassers, began to convulse and shake, succumbing to the very plague they hoped to overcome. Slowly, as their bodies shriveled and their spirit stones turned to rotting mulch, the souls of the seers that were trapped in Nergal's realm began to pass fully into the Immaterium. The soupy atmosphere of the garden seeped into their lungs. Worm-riddled mud spattered up into their legs, and white-bodied Daemon flies climbed into their mouths. Claimed at last, the seers' feet took root as their faces hardened with bark. Their arms split and twisted into gnarled branches. Each finger hung with ripening, nurgling fruit. The seers of Lugganoth remained there still, like hopes of wailing trees that brighten Nergal's leisurely walks and strike a note of despair into the hearts of Isha, his immortal captive. Such is the fate of all those who enter uninvited into the heartlands of Nergal. For even the generosity of the Grandfather Plague has its limits. The Plague Legions. To those subjected to their loathsome assaults, the legions of Nurgle seemed like a amorphous mass, but amidst this shambling anarchy, there was purpose and design. like the stages of the disease they carry. Each plague legion is part of an overarching cycle of fecundity and decay, and exists only to see Nurgle's garden flourish, and his gifts bestowed. From the garden of Nergal lumber, the plague legions, the dreaded armies of the great corruptor. When they go to war, be it in the realm of chaos or real space, they bring the boundless generosity of the master and the products of his endless labors with them, and leave contagion, anguish, and death in their wake. All plague legions are Nurgle's creations, and so carry pestilence and propagate their master's foul will, yet each is associated with the specific stages of the fly, Lord's cycle of decay and regeneration. The Fecundus legions are tasked with the making of diseases. It is they that travel across reality and unreality to gather the raw ingredients that will be added to the cauldron of the foul god. And the worst ills suffered by the mortal races can be attributed to their diligence. The infectious legions are the harbingers of infection, the carriers of new diseases that lay the groundwork for the greater virulence to follow. The pathogenous legions are disease fully bloomed, sickness made manifest, the very height of contagion. They are equally capable in both attack or defense, and will be often deployed to guard key sites within Nergal's garden, or spearhead an assault. The Epidemic Legions contain the most Daemons, for they expand, proliferate, and regenerate. It is they that spread outwards, ensuring initial gains turn into rampaging outbreaks. The Rot Legions revel in decay, the festering powers and potent blessings, able to break down anything, more than any other legion. Their presence cultivates the ground for the Garden of Nergal to spread. The Morbidus legions are the reapers, the toll takers, the bringers of death. The Necrocious legions are the most resilient. They use hopelessness and despair as a weapon, and can absorb terrific punishments. And on it goes, each of the legions specializing in some grotesque aspect of Nurgle's cycle of birth and decay, death and rebirth. Each plague legion is led by a great unclean one, a greater daemon of Nergal that acts as its general. They dote over their charges in the manner of a loving parent, cajoling each of their plague legions 7 Talibans upon its appointed tasks. Ever eccentric, Nergal encourages the same aberrations amongst the most powerful of his shepherds. These unusual traits go as far as towards coloring the composition of the tactics of the armor they lead, as does the legion type itself. Some great unclean ones, for example, favor entirely airborne assaults, going to battle with clouds of plague drones that darken the skies and excel at aerial strikes. Others enjoy seeing their victims buried in slavering beasts of Nergal, or ground slowly into the dirt by wave after wave of mumbling plague bearers. I seem to be very thirsty. I'm going to continue drinking this too, etc. Yes, I've been coughing a bit sometimes, and my throat's a little sore. But I'm fairly certain I don't have COVID. I don't have a fever. I can still taste and smell everything. My ability to think rationally may have declined a bit during the time, but I would attribute that to normal illness. Besides, I can still work harder, yet do everything that's asked of me. After all, I have a job to do and a job that must be done. At least it's the weekend now. Though, there's been a computer chip shortage, so a lot of the people in the building were allowed to have half a week off, no pay, no penalty. My area was not affected. It seems very common. A lot of people in a lot of the building get a chance to have some time off. I am not afforded that. However, I do have the weekend. And it's Labor Day weekend, so 3 days. Still would have preferred 5 or 6, but still 3-day weekend's still pretty awesome. I'm working 40 hours recently instead of the massive overtime I've been working. Yet, I feel so exhausted physically and emotionally. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to talk to anyone or have anything to do with anyone or anything. Threatening my department with bringing back the 7-day work weeks and the 12-hour shifts, even though they just, a month ago, instituted extra shifts and extra crews to try to lighten that burden. Plus, technically the number for the quota in for our department's been drastically cut because of the chip shortage, because our customer just isn't able, our customers and suppliers just aren't able to do what they're normally able to do. Partly because some places have COVID outbreaks, and partly because of the computer chip shortage or the economy. And yet they insist, I feel like they insist on trying to work me to death. I'm grateful for my job, it pays my bills. But I am exhausted. Constantly thinking of quitting. Trying to figure out where I left off. Great unclean ones cycle through phases over the course of their immortal lifespans, assuming new mantles with each legion they take command of. For example, they may lead an Epidemic Legion to spread diseases before moving on to command a Rot Legion in order to bask in such maladies. When the cycle nears its end, a great unclean one will scab over with necrotic patches, and in his state of advanced decay, will lord over a necrocious legion. It is not long before his body will shed the rotting husk of its old skin, to reveal the new blooms of fresh disease, and it is then he will once again lead the Fecundus Legion. Beneath the great unclean one are the leaders of the Talibans, either Daemon princes or demonic heralds, such as Poxbringers, Sloppity Bile Pipers, Spoil Pox Scriveners. Each receives a Grand Delinquent title, Grand Delinquent title of his general's invention, selected to match the bearer's skills, proclivities, or war tasks. Examples include the Lords, the Fulsome Filth, the Almighty Bringer of Rancid Decay, or the Slop Toxic Master of Bubbling Buboes. The Talibans can vary in size, swelling to the epidemic proportions as Nergal's power waxes and contracting into small elite warbands. When it wanes, at its peak, however, the Taliban is composed of 7 packs of the lesser Daemons known as Plague Bearers, or the Plague Drones, depending upon the predilections of its leader. An ebb and flow of the cycle, a Taliban may also include beasts of Nurgle, or swarms of Nurglings, although such anarchic beasts rarely remain with the formation beyond the duration. thirsty. You know what's weird? I feel like I've been eating non-stop. And yet, my body weight is down to 197 pounds. I'm 5'10". I'd say about a month ago I was probably 235. I weighed myself before this video. I'm 197 pounds, but I'm eating non-stop. At least one thing is, I can assure people, like, when it comes to work, I mean, as long as I'm not running a fever, they want me to keep working. So, I had to work my normal work week. Thank God there wasn't overtime. Or at least going to Labor Day, but... Besides, if I take time off work for possibly having COVID, my job will hold it against me. Besides, as long as I can deal with it, if I can just work through it, then it'll be fine. Besides, everyone's wearing masks, not super close to anyone, still working faster and faster. I'm not running a fever, I'm not throwing up. I'm starving all the time. Everything tastes so delicious, and I keep eating and eating. And everything has such a strong, overpowering smell. I know during break I'd gone to the bathroom. I apparently chose the wrong bathroom. The cleaner was in the middle of cleaning it. It was basically drowned in bleach. I was gagging on the smell and the taste of bleach in the air. It's weird. COVID should make me have a fever. I know I have terrible migraines that keep getting worse and chest pains, but those are nothing new to me. Those have been getting worse for quite a while now. Maybe I should do an EKG or a CAT scan. COVID's supposed to make you lose your sense of taste. I must not have COVID because everything is so much stronger. Everything tastes so overpowering and smells so strongly. When I start eating it, I just keep eating it and scarfing it down until entire bowls are gone. At least if I were to be exposed to COVID, my body would be pretty good at fighting it off. My body's had a high white blood cell count for quite a while. Now the doctor was recommending I go see a gastroenterologist and a urologist, and I just haven't been able to do it. I haven't had the time or the energy. I just want to stay home. And I know I need to renew my dental insurance, because I know at some point I might have more of my teeth removed. At least you wouldn't be able to see anything wrong with my teeth, but it's mainly my back teeth. From that job I worked where I was breathing powdered metal and powdered paint. It wasn't a safe job, it wasn't a healthy job, but it's what I was required of me at that time to pay my bills. Besides, it's not like there was anyone out there at that time who cared about the effect it had on my health. It's hilarious. I've dealt with depression and thoughts of suicide since my youngest memories. But I've never told anyone. Not a single girlfriend, not even the woman I was married to. Looking back, had my ex-wife ever known, Her response probably would have just been to tell me to just go ahead and do it already. I'm struggling with a few things. It doesn't help that just existing seems to have me out of breath and makes my chest hurt. Let alone working a physical manual labor job that requires me to move quickly, to move my arms and legs, to have fine motor dexterity, and be focused on looking for obscure details. I'm sorry, I'm not reading at the moment. Just sort of spacing out. I know I really need to try not to space out. These videos are me just doing whatever the fuck I want, though. Whether it's me wanting to read a book, or it's me wanting to play a game. Me wanting to make jokes and have a funny video, or me making a completely serious video where I'm sad and I'm upset, and I'm venting the internet as if you're my therapist. Not that I have one of those. Probably should, though. Doctors have expressed several times I probably should be on steroids. Then again, my family has a history of strokes and aneurysms. I'd rather not die. It's kind of funny. I'm depressed and I think about that stuff and yet I do everything I can to try to stay alive. Because I generally want to stay alive. Just feel down a lot. I'll have all of you know, I will never ever do anything to hurt myself. Hell, any of the scars I have in my body are from other people, doing things that hurt me. I've never hurt myself or tried to hurt myself, and I never will. If I ever do pass, it would probably just be for health reasons. My white blood cell count's been like 6 or 7 times the normal amount for like a couple years now. Doctor thinks it might be some kind of an autoimmune condition. Either that, or maybe my teeth are just permanently getting reinfected all the time. And the holes in the job that required me to paint, but I couldn't leave the line where I was painting. And I was wearing a shitty-ass dust mask. So I was constantly vomiting in my own mouth. But I couldn't leave to go to the bathroom or anything because I had a job to do. So I was required to just keep swallowing my vomit over and over. Stomach acid is not good for your teeth. For a while there, everything tasted like blood and copper. It was about 4 months after I quit that job, I stopped coughing paint. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, unable to breathe. I'd punch myself in the chest a few times. I'd cough up, and I'd be like, oh, there's federal blue. There's standard gray. There's river gray. By the way, standard gray looks like actual gray. River gray looks like the inside of an Oreo, the Oreo cream. River gray is actually the color used by Amazon. Amazon River? Yes, it's supposed to be clever. I didn't come up with it. The business I worked for did. Or that Amazon did. And they're like, yeah, we want you to call our painted product River Gray. Because it's for Amazon River. It's kind of funny. I work for a company that I basically consider Skynet. And I build T-800s. I work for Skynet. I'd say my closest friend, even though I haven't seen him in forever at this point. He works for Amazon. And since Jeff Bezos did that whole fly to space in the dick-shaped rocket, that means I work for Skynet. And my best friend, who I haven't seen forever, works for Dr. Evil. I really need to see the doctor more often. just... I know I had some blood taken about a month ago. They were supposed to recheck my testosterone levels, but they accidentally overlooked that one, so I got tests back for everything except for that. I just feel like shit all the time. Investus, led by Droglar Slimeskin. 7 plague bearer packs, 3 beasts of Nergal. It was the Investus Taliban that served Septicus as a vanguard on Ajax. Its ranks of plague bearers formed around Droglar as he countered the initial symptoms of disease exhibited by the planet's defenders. The Septicus Legion. The Septicus Legion was part of the demonic force that penetrated deep into Ultramar and participated in the fighting that culminated on Ajax. It is led by Septicus himself, the self-styled pox tyrant of the Scourge Stars. On the battlefield, Septicus is accompanied by the Rust Clankers, a bodyguard of 3 soul grinders. Shown here are the 7 full-strength Talibans, made up of the Septicus Legion, as it took part in the Battle of Iron Fields and the contamination of the Vine Coast. The Septicus Legion is one of the Legion's pathogens, ideal to both to manifest and spread disease. It was their task to conquer and hold Ajax. Were not for the untimely return of the Robout Guileman, it is a mission that would have successfully completed. Every time you hear me stop and I'm not talking, I'm drinking 7-Up. So much fucking lemon lime. The Feck Flies, led by Gilglex, Gyglex, 3 plague bear packs, 4 plague drone packs, 2 beasts of Nergal, and a Nurgle pack. A loose fly covered of all the Septicus Talibans. It was they that met and defended the Ultramarines' 3rd Company in the corrupted forest of Gallus. I'll say this, the worst chest pain I ever had, it's the job I had before this one. It was like 5 years ago. Thought I was having a heart attack. So I left that job early. I drove down the freeway. I tried talking on the phone to somebody while I was driving, but I eventually had to hop off that phone call because my arms and legs were going numb. Made my way to the ER. And I told them, hey, I think I'm having a heart attack. They're like, you need someone to put you in a wheelchair and take you to the ER? I'm like, no, I know where it is. I can walk there. So I walk there, sit down. 20 minutes later, I can't hardly get out of that bed by myself. Need help to stand up. When I go to the bathroom to pee, I need someone to pull my pants down and hold me up while I piss. An hour later, I have a fucking spinal tap. That sucked. I think I spent close to 60 hours in the ICU. They were pumping every kind of antiviral, antifungal, antibiotic. They were also giving me speed packs of saline, magnesium. So, first day I was there, I managed to force down half a Cheerio. Yeah, spinal taps suck. For the first week out of that hospital, I was wearing sunglasses and taking Excedrin a couple times a day at least. An imbalance of spinal fluid pressure sucks. the Worm-Ridden. Led by Maggrub, Larval Master, the Poxbringer. 4 Plague Bearer packs, 3 Plague Drone packs, and 3 Beasts of Earth. The Worm-Ridden carry within their bodies the latest of Nurgle's creations. The worm-born Blisteri disease, and is their task to ensure it spreads. The Dirge Tollers, led by Gurglak's sloppity Bile Piper. 7 Plague Bears packs, 4 Nurgling packs. The Dire Tollers devastated the Ultramar defense forces, Gurglar's mirth attracting a horde of capering Nurglings to his aids. Buzz Blitz, led by Bizark, the Flyborn, Daemon Prince, 7 Plague Drone packs. The Wagon Daemon Prince, Bizark and his Plague Drones are adept at exploiting weaknesses in the enemy's lines and are often unleashed after the Investus and Dirge Tollers Talibans have pinned down the foe. The Plague Worlds of Badrub, led by Badrub Poxbearer. 5 Plague Bearer packs, 2 Plague Drone packs, and 2 Nurgling packs. The Plague Swords of Badrub held back the Ultramarines that came to halt the legions defiant of Ix's wellspring until the reinforcements arrived. A little pruning, some judicious planning, and yes, this could be a fine addition to Grandfather's garden. But it needs work, my pretties. Oh, so much work. Tell the bells, bring forth our best plagues and poxes. We have much grafting and seed sowing to do. Pox's tyrant Septicus, upon viewing Ix, the so-called garden world of Ultramar. That's it for this chapter of the Chaos Demons. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.